studio production begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Community Foundation Spotlight. I'm Spicer Bell. I'm the president of the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore. And through this series of programs, we shine that Community Foundation spotlight on nonprofit organizations that are making such a wonderful difference in our community. But we're going to begin today with a brief plug for a fund that we operate at the Community Foundation. It's called the Help Your Neighbor Fund. It was initiated several years ago. It's an opportunity for anyone in the community to reach out to their neighbors. And with a small contribution to that fund, you help us then do grants to nonprofit organizations that provide food assistance, energy assistance, and prescription assistance to our neighbors in need. And in this economic situation, we're finding more and more families, more and more senior citizens are finding themselves in need of that type of assistance. We don't provide that assistance directly. We collect the funds from a variety of different sources, like your donations, and then we grant that money to small, often faith-based nonprofit organizations that are very close to the community and individuals in need. So we're sure that it's getting to the people who are at greatest need. And believe me, 100% of those funds go back out to those nonprofit organizations. I work with a lot of them, and they are very, very careful in terms of how they use that money. So give it some thought. If you'd like to reach out to some of your neighbors, you can go to our website, www.cfes.org. You can gift online, or you it tells you where you can send a check, and we'll be sure that money gets to neighbors in need. Along that same line, our guest today is Jennifer Small, and Jennifer runs the Maryland Food Bank here on the Eastern Shore. Jennifer, glad to have you with us.
I'm glad to be here, thank you.
Yeah. And you see firsthand what I'm talking about in terms of families in need, I know.
Yes, very much so, and ever more so over the past couple of years.
Yeah. Now you're the Eastern Shore branch of the Maryland Food Bank. Tell our viewers how that's organized.
The Maryland Food Bank has two offices. We have one on the Western Shore, which handles all counties with the exception of Prince George's and Montgomery. The Eastern Shore branch deals with 8 service territories here on the Eastern Shore, from Queen Anne's County all the way south into Worcester County. Okay.
And my thoughts collected here. You're part of the Feeding of America program, or what is that called?
Feeding America is the national parent
right.
organization
Okay.
nationally.
So and that promotes the welfare of food banks across the country, really.
Yes.
So, okay. And how do you operate? What do you do? How long has Maryland Food Bank been in existence?
The Maryland Food Bank on the Eastern Shore, in general, has been in operation going on 31 years strong.
Okay. Okay.
And on the Eastern Shore, basically we try to solicit and cultivate relationships with retail vendors and donors and individual donors who will help to provide food. That is the most basic provision that we try to provide to our communities in need. And with that, food comes into our warehouse, where it is in turn sorted, packaged, put together onto a menu so that our partner organizations can then order that and distribute out into the community in need.
Okay. So the food that comes to you then goes back out to food pantries and organizations that are distributing it to those people in need.
Yes, there are other 501c3 nonprofit, faith-based organizations, shelters, rehabilitation centers, and emergency feeding pantries.
Now, I'll tell you, your warehousing operation is impressive. I mean, you handle a lot of food.
We do. The second year I've been with the company, when I started, we were distributing 2.8 million pounds a year. Now we're over 3 million pounds a year in distribution.
3 million pounds of food go through your warehouse. And tell folks where you're located.
We're located at 28500 Owens Branch Road. We're just across the street from Lower Shore Enterprises.
On the way to the landfill.
That's correct. Right. So it's very accessible. We're open from 7:30 to 4 for anybody who's interested in taking donations. bringing donations, coming to volunteer. It's very important to the work that we do.
And if someone, I think most of us have participated in organizations who do food drives. Of course, Community Foundation helped do the Strike Out Hunger thing
Yes.
this past fall. We had a food barrel in our office, and as well as a lot of them around. If I put a can of food, a can of beans or a can of corn in that barrel, talk us through, how does that get to a needy person?
Basically what happens is food drives, for example, such as the one the Community Foundation held for us with Strike Out Hunger, that food will be collected, it'll be brought back, it'll be inspected, make sure that it's in date, there's no perforation to the can or damaging that will contaminate the product that's inside. It will then be sorted into categories, whether it's boxed goods, vegetables, fruits, and we box by 25-pound case lots of assorted product. It'll then go onto our menu through our inventory system for tracking, and our partners will receive that every morning. They'll place an order by 11 a.m. with a 24-hour turnaround, whether they want it picked up and or delivered. At that point, they have to store that food, and then they distribute it to those individuals in their local communities who have a need.
And they determine the need. They establish that this person really is
Yes.
economically challenged or has health issues or something, whatever it might be.
Yes, disability, and generally in this given time with the way the economy is, anybody coming to resource food generally has a need.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly seeing a tremendous uptick in that, and I was just reading this morning in the paper that at least by one study, over half of the U.S. population is now classified as poor.
Right.
And when the family falls into that category, it doesn't really take much to push them in the direction of finding themselves in need of some type of assistance. If a family member has a health issue, if somebody loses their job or has their hours cut, and we've seen lots of that. Have occasion to work with the folks down at Seton Center, down in Princess Anne. Wonderful organization. And one of the sisters there not long ago shared with me that they have families now coming in and asking for food assistance who were a year ago were donating.
Right.
They regularly would drop off some, and it just, the situation is just, it's often no fault of their own that they find themselves in need of this assistance.
Well, the stereotype has very much changed. It used to be an individual in need of food bank assistance was homeless. Now we're looking at that middle class dynamic that has been laid off, or they're suffering some sort of insecurity. What's even more alarming is in Maryland, which is one of the wealthiest states, that over 460,000 Marylanders are at risk of food insecurity. 80% of those individuals don't even meet the criteria to get federal assistance. So they're hungry, they don't know where their next meal is coming from, and there's no resource. And of that, 1 in 4 of our children are hungry. As we're in the spirit of the holiday, I would just like to say that to our viewers that hunger has no holiday, and that once the holiday season is over, people are still hungry. And what happens is the food bank has a surge in donations from October through December, and January through that October time frame, we really struggle to get donations in our doors to help meet the needs. So I just urge individuals to keep that in mind as they donate to the food bank and know they're doing good work.
Great New Year's resolution for folks to support the food bank year-round.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to force you to remember that many statistics, but a while back you shared with me information on the number of kids that were food insecure. It's a tremendous number of young people.
Right, and it's getting worse.
Yeah. So, now when we use the term food insecure, what do we mean?
That an individual does not know where their next meal is coming from.
Okay. That's challenging.
It is.
It really is. And frustrating. When it's kids, it's frustrating for the whole family, certainly.
Well, and the impact on their education as well.
Yeah.
We feel that during school, generally, if they are qualified for free and reduced lunch, that they get a hot breakfast and a hot lunch. But then when they're out of school, you worry about dinners. And then on Fridays, you worry about how they're going to eat over the weekend.
Yeah. So, of course, I worked in schools for years and have stood at the line for breakfast programs in schools, and you see the kids come in and you see how hungry they are.
Right.
And you can be reasonably assured that the last good meal they had was school lunch the previous day.
Right.
That's frustrating. It really is. So. Now, you're involved with the Farm to Food program. What is that?
Very exciting. This past year, the Maryland Food Bank received a grant which entitled us to hire a food solicitor on the Eastern Shore who would work with local farmers to try and reap produce to be able to put out into our communities in need. So Amy Colley came aboard, and since June 20th of this year, we have gleaned over 480,000 pounds of produce up through this very week. From over 23 of our farmers here on the Eastern Shore.
So this is product that they could not market otherwise?
Yes, it was edible product that was not saleable for whether it be size or color, or their machinery would not be able to pick it out of the fields because it didn't meet the qualification for picking. Yeah. So it was a phenomenal program. We're so excited going into next year. And it gave us opportunity to start working with a lot of the local correctional departments, inmates who were 60 to 90 days, I believe it was, out of release, would be utilized to go out and glean in the farms.
Oh, that is.
Actually, I think it was 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
From
that gives them
parole.
something, certainly constructive to do.
Right.
And gives you really far. And this is really a very green. This is ecologically a very good thing to do because you're not transporting that food a long distance and spending a lot of energy, resources to package it and things like that.
So and 480,000 pounds since June is just tremendous. And when you have produce to go with the protein, with all the chicken we get from Purdue, partner that with the goods that we're getting, the shelf-stable foods from food drives in our local store and vendor donors, it's amazing now that the communities are excited, our partner network is excited, and we only look for good things next year.
Now, the Farm to Food program, what were some of the types of produce that you got?
An assortment. At the beginning of the season, we had squash and zucchini. Then we hit our melons, cantaloupes, and watermelons. Gorgeous product. Peppers, eggplants. We're now getting cabbage, cauliflower, chard. Just beautiful. Turnips. They've currently been picking turnip greens and turnips, and gosh, so much. So potatoes.
Okay.
Just such a wide assortment of product coming in.
Very good. Very good. You mentioned Purdue, and I want to go back to major donors because I know that without some of your major donors, you wouldn't be able to do near what you do. Name them. Name some of your major donors. We want to give them some credit and thank yous too.
Absolutely. We have so many partner relationships that have grown even in the couple years I've been with the food bank. Purdue, of course, is a huge source of our protein. Since the inception of the Purdue Farms Cold Storage Facility, which was pretty much operable January of 2009.
2009. Yeah.
We have,
and they partially funded that through the Arthur W. Purdue Foundation.
They did.
I think.
Yes, they did. So not only are they a huge resource for food, they're a huge monetary resource. But since the inception of the cold storage facility, we have received over 5 million pounds of chicken. And just the variety and what we're able to produce as far as a protein in our local community. We have wonderful relationships with Walmart and Food Lion and Cisco and Sam's Club and Pepsi and Coke and even some of the smaller vendors with Schmidt and Stroman. Everybody needs bread and pastries and desserts to go with their meals. So, and there's just a huge laundry list. Now, Hunters for the Hungry. We now have 4 processing plants that are producing deer.
We just funded one of those programs with the Hunters for the Hungry, where they'll take deer and process them, and they become ground product, meat product, and come to, I guess, to you and other
The
Food
four
pantries and
processing
what have you.
plants, yes. Yes, we have received since October 8,000 pounds from Hunters for the Hungry.
Fantastic.
So there's such a wonderful opportunity out there.
And that's a national organization, but has a local affiliate, I think.
I believe
that's,
so.
That's what we funded the local
Yes.
group here. So it's kind of neat that there are organizations like that in the community that most of us, we never see them. We really don't. But they're out there doing really good work. And they're benefiting the whole community.
Right, and we're very dependent upon that.
Yeah. But Purdue, particularly, 5 million pounds.
Yes.
So now I know there's a similar relationship between Mount Ayr and a number of feeding programs over in Sussex County. I was recently talking to Roger Marino over there, and he gave me the figure in terms of the number of pallets that they distribute every month, type of thing, of chicken products. Now, in terms of the chicken, are you still doing canning some of the chicken?
There still is a resource for canning. It's dropped off a little bit.
I thought that was really neat way you developed, the food bank developed, to use that product and make it more usable for the end user. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, basically what would happen is the chicken was pretty much cryovac and sealed and prepared right inside of a can. And I think where some of the question of the community came in is, what do I do with this? You open a can, you see chicken, you see bones, so they don't understand.
Makes great soup.
Exactly. So it becomes something creative that we have to put together to say, look, you have chicken salad, you have soup. These are things that you can do that are going to stretch and create many meals as opposed to one. So very creative idea. The program has worked very well. We have seen a lot of it go out to the communities. However, the distribution aspect of it as far as production and whatnot up in the central office has dropped off a little bit.
Okay, okay. There's sometimes community misperceptions about food bank, and you and I dealt with one, talked about one this fall. You had a letter to the editor in local newspapers. The perception that the distribution folks, the pantries and what have to buy food from you.
Right.
Talk about that. I mean, you know, you have costs that you have to cover. If I give food to you at the food bank, and that goes to a food pantry, they're not really buying the food, are they?
They're not buying the food, no. To start off by saying it costs us 38 cents to process a pound of food. Okay. And if you look at that, you're talking about the logistics that are involved in procuring the food. Our fleet of trucks, we have 5, that go out to our donors to pick up food, bring it back. Then the sorting, the packaging, boxes, tape, the efforts, the labor involved. So that 38 cents is all encompassing of our expenses. And what happens is the only way those expenses can be properly managed is through something called a shared maintenance. Feeding America stipulates that we can charge a shared maintenance up to 19 cents a pound. The Eastern Shore branch is averaging 7 cents a pound.
I was going to say, I know you're not near that 19 cents a pound.
No, so we're nowhere near being able to take care of the expenses that we are incurring by doing that. And unfortunately, because that shared maintenance shows up per pound on a menu, the conception is, well, I'm paying per pound of food. Now, that's the only way we're able to approach receiving what's going to help cover our expenses.
So if I'm a food bank out there and I get 500 pounds of food, I'm gonna spend 9 cents a pound.
Correct.
Expect to reimburse the food bank for that.
Right.
And then it's for us to distribute.
Exactly, and it is distributed free of charge. There is no individual in need who is ever charged for food.
Okay. One way the community can offset some of that cost is by donating to the food bank, correct?
Yes.
Now, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Many different ways. We're online, www.marylandfoodbank.org. They can contact our office, 410-742-0050. They can write us directly. We get a lot through our mail. We do have direct mailers that go out regularly. to current donors
I
and
think I got one at home recently.
I'm sure you did for the holiday. So there's many different avenues. They can even come into our office and let us know they want to make a donation, and we'll accept that at that particular time.
And I don't want to talk you into something you don't want to do, but you do have a very impressive operation. If there's somebody out there who is with a faith-based group or a scout group or something like that that would like to know more about the food bank, can they contact you and come down and get a tour?
Absolutely. We really encourage that.
Okay.
There's no better way for somebody to understand what we do than by seeing it firsthand. So absolutely.
And we talk about food, but when I go to your warehouse, there's a lot more than just food there. It's recognizing that there are other needs that these families have.
Well,
I think I saw toothbrushes there once,
right,
and things like that.
And they're wonderful. We get a lot of things: shampoos, deodorants, toothpaste, and toothbrushes, which we all need. And we had mattresses and televisions donated from hotels who did renovations and overhauls. What's really nice about items like that is people are hungry, but sometimes they need the basic necessities as well, other than just food. And when we deal with homeless shelters, that now their population has doubled and tripled, and we're dealing with rehabilitation centers and pregnancy centers and whatnot, they need resources. So when we get formula and infant food and diapers and we have a wonderful opportunity to benefit these families in more than just food ways.
Yeah. You support a program called Kids Cafe also. What's Kids Cafe?
Kids Cafe has shifted into our youth program umbrella. And basically what that is three-faceted. We have a supper feeding program, which is after school during the school season. We have a summer feeding program so that children still have a nutritional meal during the day, during the summer when they're out of school. And then we have our backpack snack program, and that's generally trying to provide them with provisions over the weekend when they're not in school.
And a lot of those programs are, the on-the-ground portion of that is run by faith-based organizations and churches and
Salvation Armies, low-income
folks
housing.
right in the community.
Right, front and center.
Okay. Now, at one point, you had some mobile distributions that you were doing. Are you still doing that?
It's actually tremendously increased over the past year.
Tell our viewer, I found that, when I learned about that, I found that fascinating.
Our mobile pantry program is an opportunity for us to move large amounts of product to a community right in their back door. Nowadays we have transportation issues. They don't have a resource to be able to get to where they need food.
Sure.
There are a lot less pantries who are able to deliver.
Sure.
So by us being able to take a truckload of food out into a community and meet that demographic, we feed more people more food. So it tends to be one of our biggest opportunities to reach more people, right where they're hit the hardest, where pantries are not located. Places, Chrisfield, Smith Island, Deal Island, areas like that that are secluded. I don't want to say they're forgotten about, but there's just not a resource that's able to help.
Sure.
And that's what we try to do. We can be reached at 28500 Owens Branch Road here in Salisbury. The phone number is 410-742-0050. We can also be reached or notified via our website, which is www.mdfoodbank.org.
And now, how? Let's say you go to a community where there's a concentration of folks in need, and you pull up in the truck. How do you know it's the people who are in need who are getting the food?
Our motto is generally, if they're there, pride kind of takes over a little bit. More people are not going to look for a handout unless they genuinely have a need. And there is no requirement. There is no financial obligation. You have to show proof of income. It's, you're telling us you have a need, then we're going to help you to take care of that need.
So that's it. And you have a good response to that.
Yes. Yes, we do. Well, and just to piggyback off of that, in October, the Maryland Food Bank hosted their second ever mobile food pantry right at our location.
Okay.
Oh my goodness gracious. This was amazing. So not only did we feed a lot of Wicomico County residents, but every one of our staff members, our volunteers, got to see front and center exactly the impact that they made that day.
Great, great. So, now, what else can the community do to help your work? I mean, we obviously need to help spread the word and break down some of those misperceptions about the food bank and what have you, but how can folks help?
Education is first and foremost, so that community does have an understanding of what we do and how we operate. But the three critical areas are food, money, and volunteering. Okay. Without those resources, we fail to be able to do what we need to do, and that's to be able to put more food into the homes of those who need it.
Could you operate with a relatively skeletal staff?
Yes.
Yeah. How many staff members do you have?
Our operation has 12 staff members, and that's including myself.
And once again, how many pounds of food last year?
Over 3 million.
Over 3 million pounds
Yes.
of food. So you really are dependent on those volunteers.
Yes, very much so.
And volunteers can be individuals, families, organizations. A great way for an organization to do some community service, I would think.
It is. We've had the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and we've had some preschools come in, and school groups, and even university groups who have come in, and not only are they applying it to an education, the dietetics program of UMES, for example, they apply it to their educational curriculum, but they're also getting community service hours for that. And they help us produce a lot during the time that they're there.
All right. Jennifer, what do you see as the future of the food bank here on the Eastern Shore?
I'm concerned, and my concern is the need continues to rise, the resources continue to fall. And if we don't have the resources to purchase or receive food, then those needs are going to continue to increase, and then where do we go from there? And that's very alarming that we have a huge goal ahead of us. So there are many venues who can help us to reach the goals that we hope to achieve.
So, well, we're certainly glad to help you in any way we can, and we're glad to help spread the word and commend you for the work that you do at the food bank, and hope that some of our viewers will be inspired to become a part of your program and help to reach out to neighbors in that way.
And I hope so too.
You know, I mean, yours is not we had earlier taping session, John Culp from the Red Cross, and they're under the same budgetary types of squeeze, losing staff, more demand for services. So it's important that the community step up and support all of our nonprofit community.
Right.
So, well, thank you for coming and being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We've been talking to Jennifer Small. Jennifer runs the Maryland Food Bank branch here on the Eastern Shore, does a great job of it, and she and her staff are certainly worth you finding out more about what they do. Pay them a visit and find out how you can help get food to hungry families here on the Eastern Shore. Another program we're going to put in a plug for is the Community Foundation's Help Your Neighbor Fund. That's a fund we started several years ago, and through that fund we provide support for small, local nonprofits who are very close to the communities they serve, and we provide them money that they can then use for prescription assistance programs, food assistance program, and energy assistance. Unfortunately, with recent government budget cuts, it looks like it's going to be a very difficult year for many folks who can't afford to pay their energy bills. One of the ways that we, as a community, help bridge that gap is through programs like our Help Your Neighbor Fund. It's a fund at the Community Foundation that everyone can help with. 100% of the money that's collected, regardless of the size of the donation, goes right on back out to nonprofit organizations, and we pick those organizations that we know are close to the families in need, and we're sure that the money is getting to those in greatest need. As we urge you to, if you're not familiar with the program, go to our website, www.cfes.org, and find out how you can help. And we thank you for watching Community Foundation Spotlight here on Pac14, and look forward to seeing you out there as we try to do good work for our community. Thanks for viewing.
Would you like to see your community organization or nonprofit group featured on Pac14? To get started, contact us at 410-677-5014 or visit our website at www.pac14.org. Pac14 is a great way to connect with your community.